Emperor's Children, I did it. I lived long enough to see them launch as a separate faction. And I get it, their release is a topic rife with issue. Where did all the crossover units go? Why can I take a Mauler Fiend and not a Forge Fiend? No Predators? FML. How do we handle monsters and armor? And sure, there is a bit of truth in these issues, but still, I am excited to get my hands on them. I even did a bit of preparation with the 30k Fulgrim and a selection of transports. My key focus was on making it feel like the world was glowing the pink of modern Emperor's Children, and this was enveloping their history of purple and gold, converting them into what they are to become. A lot of focus on airbrush use, and I noticed something when working on these. My $20 on sale cheapo starter brush was ready to retire, burnt out after 2 years of service. I feel driven to respect its wishes for rest, and since I was one of the few who achieved the ability to snag the Champions of Slaanesh box, I'm gonna need something to keep up the momentum. Thankfully, I got a message over the Vox. Hashtag ad, everyone. But honestly, had the end result been less than adequate, none of you would be hearing about this. So when I say that an ambassador from Gaahleri, a brand focused on producing products in the creative vein of airbrushing and the like, had contacted me, it was almost fortuitous. I sense the presence of a certain changer of ways in this. They offered to provide me with the replacement for my ailing compatriot, their Mobius brand airbrush, the GHPM Mobius .3 to be exact, toting a specialized nozzle as one of its key elements alongside more aesthetic choices for design and assembly, all very well and good. Makes it nice and shiny, but this is an airbrush. I am a fan of the practical, and before it lies a test of endurance. For a few days, I pushed my limits of sanity bathing in the stench of excessive glue fumes, and the results are the prepared masses of 33 units. 33 that I am certain will make it through the crux of the airbrush phase, all in one go. 1 pass of primer, 2 passes of golden high flow color, fluorescent pink to cobalt, 1 pass of Liquitex white ink, and the final moment of exquisite agony spent on the golden fluorescent purple, the true baseline standard all of my Sisters of Sound warband will require in their journey towards perfection, and I'm happy to report it actually survived, possibly even thrived under the pressure. It has been quite some time since I've had a fresh airbrush. I've almost forgotten the feeling of having to not fight a non-living object to get it to perform its basic task. Function-wise, the airbrush is certainly that. Out of the box, it comes with everything you need, including a detachable paint well. Not used to that, but for cleaning purposes, I kind of like it. It also has 2 options for compressor connector, the standard threaded connection or a quick release connection. These might be common things for all of you, but again, I've been running this ship on the cheap, so these are sort of nice. The paint well felt a bit small for me, and I noticed on Gaahlerie's site that there are sort of upgrade components I could grab to adjust the baseline model I received. My coffers are already on life support with all the new 40k releases, so I'll have to do my best to not want to customize this brush, but this also means that currently component replacement is quite simple, which I like. As for the whole process of painting, we made it through the priming stage with only a minor single sputter that self-corrected from the brush. I was almost certain I would have to break down the brush and give it a full scrub to fix an issue halfway through, or at least at the very end, but no! Right into the fluorescent pink after only a minor flush of cleaner, and at all stages beyond this point, much the same. Golden high flow paint is a line designed for airbrushes. On average, one can use them without the need for thinner, although it is always suggested by most to apply at least a drop depending. Airbrushing is very much an experience-based art form, and results can vary from location to location. The elevation one is at, the level of moisture in the air, the temperature, it's much like baking in a way. I'm not saying all this to try and deter anyone from the path of the airbrush. I too was a total noob once, and I had the fear of putting in all this effort, only to immediately watch it all crumble away as I failed relentlessly in pursuit of basic knowledge. But I assure you, it's actually not that bad. Airbrushes may seem like marvels of the machine spirits, but they are really quite simple, only a couple moving parts and some basic elements that can be pointed to when something feels a little off. And then resolving those issues actually takes not a lot of time, and I know people assume you'll need a warehouse of tools and options to keep the thing running. My little $20 wonder lasted 2 years on a single bottle of airbrush cleaner that I would run through it after every use. Maybe scrubbed it out with some flossing brushes once every 2 months. I'm being honest when I say the benefits of this tool far outweigh the fear of its upkeep. And look at the results. This is the baseline for all my Emperor's Children, the starting point for the hands-on brush work. And the Gaahleri Mobius got me there with minimal effort, minimal issue, but this is fresh out of the box. Since this initial pass, I have used it again on several occasions, prepping more units to be added to my perfect roster, and much like the fresh out of its box moment, minimal issues. Once in a while, and this is most likely the fault of me not using any thinner with some of my paints, it does have a sputter moment where the paint stops for a second before fixing itself. I have taken this apart to perform a basic level of cleaning just to see. The components are all easy enough to separate and recombine. The Mobius even comes with a handy guide for performing this task. All in all, I feel my expectations have been lived up to. I'll have an affiliate link below to their website, and I've been assured that a time-limited discount code for all of you out there will be provided, and that should be with it. They seem to run general sales frequently, so keep an eye on them. And don't just take my word and experience for it. In all things, expand your search for knowledge. It's good to get a wider range of understanding for things like this. As for my Emperor's Children, we are not done. Beyond this initial phase comes the detail work, the lit components like plasma and meltaguns, as well as the vents on the life support, and anything noise related is masked off with white and set to glow with some fluorescent yellows and orange. Joint armor is rendered black and gray, a nod to the trim of the modern Slaanesh chosen, and the gold. When painting Fulgrim, I noticed something. Using this visual methodology, metallic paints sort of subtract from the visual aesthetic for me. So, for the first time ever, I have chosen to walk the path of non-metallic metal. To be clear, I am no expert. This is very much an experimental phase for me, but utilizing Golden's So-Flat paints, cut down with some glazing medium, we build up all metallic components from burnt sienna, placing down a strip of Naples yellow on what I would consider the lower portion facing a bit downward. We then apply pale yellow closer to the peaks of the components, and with just a touch of titanium white, we finish with some specular light. Again, this is my first attempt at this process. I understand the basics of it, but here I'm trying to match a more excessive stylization, which tends to involve blowing out my ocular holes with too much yellow. And with some pink and blue mica pigment applied to the base, a single black ring is used as a signature of sorts at the end of the road. The Champions of Slaanesh box is ready, and seeing as I have a Land Raider, some rhinos, and a Fulgrim on the sidelines, maybe a game is in order. Thankfully, a local was interested in the prospect of testing the mettle of my minions of sound, and after a hard-fought loss against a quality Astra Militarum detachment, I have to say I am excited to tune this list, crank it to 11. Even within this simple run of the Mercurial detachment, I certainly found myself making many bad calls. My long-ranged Thousand Suns heritage is certainly showing. Overall, sure. Our list of units to pull from is limited. There might be something to that, though. Having advance and shoot on Predators and Forge Fiends would be a little meta-shaping. Maybe even Hellbrutes, even though that model has suffered enough. I do still feel it, though. I'm not in disagreement with the I wanted more camp. The weight of enthrallment of what if is just a bit more pressing on my mind. I can't wait to explore these units further, raise them to the level of 2K, and crush my enemies with some of the combos that are coming to light out of this new codex. Really, 5+ sustained hits on 18-inch range anti-tank from a unit that can pop out of a rhino that advanced? We'll have to see how that plays out, I suppose. And thanks again to Gaahleri for reaching out in my time of need. I was happy with the results and am looking forward to pushing this thing beyond its limits. And how about all of you out there? Anyone else managed to get their hands on a codex and looking to add your name to the excessive roster? Anything stand out to you that might be a bit abusable? And we all know Slaanesh's stance on abuse. And what do you think of the models now that they are in the wild? It's one thing to see them through the controlled and filtered lens of the release trailer. In person, they are quite excellent, but let us know in the comments below, and maybe you're working towards finishing out a solid collection of perfection. We have a Discord linked in the description below. Come on out, post up your projects, receive positive reinforcement. We'd be happy to have you. As always, likes for the like god and subscribes for the subscribe throne. I am Kimmerix. Happy painting and Slaanesh bless.